Wir sagen ein bisschen Chaim. Chaim, eins ist achsidische Yomtiv. Wir know Pesach Sheini ist von der Yomim am Metzuyonim, befragt bei der Rebbe. Der Rebbe made von Pesach Sheini a great Tag. And this year we were zeiche to, it's hard to say Gile Terech Hadasha, but this video which just came out, we just saw it in Yeshiva last night, the whole video. It's a meredike, beautiful, yeah, Mistam everyone heard that it was a Hashkacha Pratis. This video has been lying for 40 years somewhere in someone's basement. And last week, Mitamol, I don't know why or what, but he's looking through his stuff and he sees a video with Pesach Sheni on it. He brings it to Jem. And it's in his Barat, Pesach Sheni Tashum Mem Gimel, which we didn't have. So it's something to celebrate. And it's just mamish in time. Auf dem sagt man, ich sag ihm verfallener. A Stickel von der Rebbe's Teire doesn't go to waste. So, l'chaim, l'chaim.
Fine.
What's the vort? How does it begin the Farbrengen? The idea of Pesach Sheni is Lama Nigar, which is a surprising thing. The Pashtus, it makes no sense. On what right does a Yid say that Torah was Keveya Azay, and he says, Im kol ze Lama Nigar? I mean, if you think about this question, the question, it's not stam a technical question. Das is gar a chsidische Scheibe. In other words, anybody who's nischanach by Chsidim and the Yisaidis of Chsidis is Torah mitzvahs is Ratzon Hashem. Torah mitzvahs is not about what inspires me, what moves me. It's not a service. Torah is what the Eibishter wants. So if the Eibishter wants that this Yid who's carrying Arein Shal Yosef, his Tomei, his B'derech Recheka, whatever it is, he should not be Mekayim Pesach, then this itself is Ratzon Hashem. It's like if a Kayin is not allowed to go to Levayas Hames, he should say Loma Nigara. This is Ratzon Hashem. This is who I am. I'm a Kayin, and this and Yisrael. Everyone has his. You know, we know the Ma'aser from the Rebbe Zusha and the Rebbe Melech. Yeah, they were in jail, and they were, for some reason I don't remember the details how they ended up in jail. But as by Yom Mehem, this is like part of the. That's how Machanaim stories go. Some of the Rebbes end up in jail. So, and the matzav over there was so in such a low state. Begashmius, they stuck them in a cell. There was no bathroom, so they gave them a pot to put in the middle of the room, which they could use for that tzrachim, for the psailis. And Reb Zusha and Reb Melech were both, besides for Pasha Begashmius, it's disgusting and it's ekeldik. We're talking about two very edel Yidden, and just being in such conditions is a low state. But Pasha Talpi Halacha, they couldn't daven, they couldn't learn Torah, they couldn't even think Torah. So they were very frustrated. So there's different nuschos, you know, who said what? Reb Melech said like this, or Reb Zusha said like this, but one of them was sitting over there in ganzen Ba'atzvus, that he can't be upon tefillin, he can't learn Torah, he can't do anything because he's sitting over here with this pseilis in the room. So the other one responded, was heißt? There's a din in Shulchan Aruch which says that you have to be nisrachik for Krishma, daladamis, or from the Reach, so much to be able to say Krishma. And when in your life are you be able to be Mekayim this din in Shulchan Aruch? So over here we have now such a state. So it's a cause for celebration. Ebaze says a top. Mit it's this is an opportunity which we've been given. So the two brothers became inspired and they started dancing. And they started dancing from the Simcha Shal Mitzvah that they were able to be Mekayim this din in Shulchan Aruch. Ad gedei kach, that they said, how did the Eibishter send us this? And they ask him, like, well, what's
Klyne,
going on over?
you keep on freezing up, I think, unless it's mine. Unless it's
No, it's
me.
probably me. But Pashtus, it's me. Bechlal, I'll label the Chesaron can't be by you.
Oh,
It's good now?
that's not true.
Huh? It's good now?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it keeps on just going in and out. So that's it.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So the Nakuda is, I hope the storyline is clear that these Reb Zusha and Melech are dancing around this pot of tzaya, and the guard stops them, asking, "What are you dancing for?" So they explained the situation. So he said, "Such mishugaim, but he can't. I can't forgive that he should have such a simcha." So he said he's going to take it out. So he took out the pot of they were using for the Beis Hakisei, and then they could sit down and learn Torah and daven and do the full Avodas Hashem. So this is a very Chassidish Maisa. Why? Because the Yisod of Chassidus is Chassid being able to daven or not being able to daven. If that's Ratzon Hashem, that's the same as Shava Mamish. So I'm coming back to these Yidden who are in the Midbar and they can't go to bring a Korban Pesach. So they come and they say, Lama Nigar. What kind of question is that? You missed the point. A mitzvah is about that you should be able to have a successful festival of Yom Tov, and you should be able to make a chabura lemenuyov with your family, and be able to make a Korban Pesach and be able to regel. That's what the Pesach is. Pesach is what the Eibishter wants. So for some people it's making a Korban Pesach. For some people it's not making the Korban Pesach. That's what the Eibishter is. So fragt sich der Scheile, what's going on over here? That Sekum Pesach Sheini memont lama nigara. And we're celebrating this. We're coming and we're saying that the hero is that we have to also come with a tiny lomanigar. This was the Rebbe's question, but this again, for those who have just joined, we just have this new video which came out, which is itself should be a cause for celebration amongst Chassidim. It's Hakal also Yafa Beitay. This is the Eibishter sent us this shtickle Gila Lakus, which we have now in Tavshin Pehei. So this is obviously it's a Torah which is shaykh to us. So the Rebbe's question, the Rebbe doesn't bring the story with Arichas, but the kasha is, why are we saying Lama Negara? What right do they have to ask this question and to come with a time? And the Nakuda of the answer is, the Rebbe says it bekitzer, in one word, because he's a Yid. And on the one hand, the relationship of a Yid to a mitzvah is that whatever the mitzvah of the Eibush is, it's b'shaveh. It's haynuhach. If the Eibishter wants, is yeah. If the Eibishter doesn't want, that's also good. But that's the relationship of a Yid with the Eibishter as a frume Yid, as Mekayim Teiro mitzvahs. Then there's an entirely different kind of relationship. That I'm a Yid. And how do I connect? Korban Pesach is opportunity. Hayitachan, I'm not being given this opportunity. That's the Lama Nigar. So in other words, the Yom Tov of Pesach Sheini is the celebration of the clarity of identity of a Yid, and not just that he knows who he is, but he's coming from this powerful place that if so, surpassed, it's roy, I'm deserving, ich can come and monen, I could demand, and I could expect the best. This is this place of strength of a Yid. That's the Lama Nigar. In a way, this is the idea of Nishtakim Verfallener. Nishtakim Verfallener is the Rebbe moves on in the Farbrengen later to Nishtakim Verfallener, but that's Nishtakim Verfallener is saying the same message. Just because I'm in this situation doesn't mean that therefore I have to settle for less. Whatever happened, happened. But every Yid could and should have a pnimistic kesher with the Eibishter in Pashat Verter. There's I'm not going to be able to zich oplegen avot chassidus on that level. Even in inyanim of iskashrus, it starts becoming settled. So okay, so there are great chassidim, there are people who are really mekusher, and so like the Rebbe said, I believe the Rebbe said Tafshin Yud or maybe Yud Aleph. The Rebbe said that Pesach Sheini is an opportunity for those who are missing in his kashrus to connect. And even if somebody who didn't see the Rebbe, and then the Rebbe said even a sharp lashon, we're talking over in Tafshin Yud, whoever didn't see the Friedrich Rebbe in Pesach Sheini, Tafshin Yud, it was his fault. I'm saying you could have come. So the Rebbe said clearly, even if it was his fault, lochem, like it says. B'derech rechaika lachem is because of you did it to yourself. Why didn't you come? Im kol zeh Pesach Sheini is opportunity in Shtokim Fafalener. We could have it. We could go for it, and we could demand it from ourselves. And the ikar is to commit to make it happen. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
L'chaim de bracha. No, Anikin.
Yeah.
Ya did it ya did it Hey Ram, I did it. Hey, I did it. Hey, I did it. Hey, I did it. Hey,
There's the famous word the Friedrich Rebbe said when, right at the beginning, when he came to America. I believe it was Tafshin Aleph. Maybe it's Tafshin Beis. I think it was Tafshin Aleph. The short Pesach Sheini Farbrengen. He said then that Pesach Sheini is a Chassidische Yom Tov. What's Pesach Sheini? He says that there are three Sheinis. There's the Nefesh HaSheinis, there's the Cheder Sheini, and there's the Pesach Sheini. The Nefesh HaSheinis is, he explains Bariches that this is the Alter Rebbe introduced the Nefesh HaLekis. This is the Dvar Havaya which is found in every Yid. Every Yid, which is an interesting description of the Neshama. It's the Dvar Havaya, it's the word of the Eibishter, which exists within the Metzias of a Yid. Then there is, B'nesif to the Nefesh HaSheinis, there's a Bavitcher Shul, besides for being, obviously there's the main shul, there's the sanctuary, wo me kommt, me davent, me lernt, there's another room, the Cheder Shein. And he says, who's the Cheder Sheini for? The Cheder Sheini is for not for the Rav, not for the big Chassid, the Eivet. He doesn't need the Cheder Sheini. The Cheder Sheini is also not for the Sheikhet. Amalek Zeiten, who are the Pnei Ha'eda, it was more important in a he didn't come from a Chassidish place, Nishkin Tomim, but at least, okay, if he's a Yerei Shamayim, he's going to be able to answer. A Sheikhet, you need a real Yerei Shamayim. So, a true Yerei Shamayim is someone who learns Chassidus, so he's Makpit. Then there's the Malamed of the Shtat, like the Frierdiker Rebbe describes, not over here, but in so many places, was the lighthouse of the town. The Malamed is not just technically somebody who's teaching the children, he's illuminating the homes through the children. So where someone sits in Mizrach, the Rav sits in Mizrach, and he's there, he has his place. Then there's the person who doesn't find his place. So there's another room where he has a place where he could fit in. And over there, there's the other minyan. There's the second minyan. There's the second shir. There's the shir which is on his level, or there's the Farbrengen where it's discussing the things which can't be discussed by the main Farbrengen, in a public forum. That's the Cheder Sheini. And every Chassidish shul has to have a Cheder Sheini, what we call a Chabadnitze. Says the Frierdiker Rebbe, if you have a Nefesh HaShenis, and you take it like a nice vertel, like 3 Sheinis which Chassidim kocht sich in, the Nefesh HaShenis, the Cheder Sheini, and the Pesach Sheini. But the truth is that the depth over here is that Pesach Sheini is all about the Cheder Sheini, and the only way you could really go into the Cheder Sheini is through the Nefesh HaShenis. And that's what we're celebrating in Pesach Sheini. In other words, there's the ideal and there's the real. There's the perfect scenario. There is the picture perfect Zalman Klyne picture of a chassid, like the old Zalman Klyne, not the remade Zalman Klyne pictures. The Amalek Zeiten, the way you look, the question is if it's possible to have not that picture perfect shul. Is it possible to be a chassid even if I'm not on that level? And the only way to be able to go into a Cheder Sheini and to have the confidence, and more than just the confidence, it's the tenacity. As an option, as a good option, as the best option, then if it doesn't work out, so I'll look for something else. But only if I have a clarity that there's no other way, this is what I'm about, this is what I stand for, and this is what I'm going to go for, then even if it's not going to work out, he'll go into a Cheder Sheini. That Rabbi told his bacher that Acher is given a misnagit. What's the pshat? Acher was a misnagit. Acher, a misnagit, he said, he wasn't a chassid. Acher heard a baskel, shuvu banim shevavim chutz meyacher. So what's shuvu banim shevav? So Acher, he sinned. So he said, Eib nishta elam haba, al kapanim elam hazeh. and he went and he did every Aveda Shabbatayra. He was Memalataiva on the worst level. So Acher said, Shail Brook said, Acher wasn't a chassid. If he would have been a chassid, then he would have said, nicht, if not, elam haba, al kopanim, not elam haz. In other words, there's a certain clarity which comes, which Chassidus gives, or the neshama, knowing that this is who I am and this is what I stand for, that whatever it's going to be, I'm going to get whatever I could. If I'm not matzliach to become a millionaire, Sheini. And this is, as we know, it's we set a certain ideal, we set a certain level, and if it's not working, it's not working. Komt Chassidus and he says you have to take the Nefesh HaShenis and bring him into a Cheder Sheini, and that's the Pesach Sheini, which is b'mohusay the same yisod. This is what we're talking about when we say Lo Manigara. Lo Manigara is coming from a place where it's not about I'm Al pi halacha I'm mechuyev. It could be your potter, but there's this place that says don't want to settle for less. There's the concept we learn bittul idiot, ausführen de kavone, doing what the Eibishter wants. So because we have such high standards, sometimes it's difficult to live up to those standards. Kommt Pesach Sheini and he says we have to take these ideas, these yisaidis of the Nefesh HaShenis, because we have, if we really mean it, if we're really committed, take it into the Cheder Sheini und sie nicht dokim verfallen. Nicht dokim verfallen, nicht dokim verfallen ner. Come on, L'chaim. L'chaim, Remendel. L'chaim.
Ya 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 ma ya 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 oh ya 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 ma ya ya ma what oh, there, yeah, so say yeah, 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 my yeah, yeah, yeah. Ah, yeah, 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 my yeah. Hey, may she sing hi to Rabbi Kazin. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. There, yeah, I know, it looks good. There, yeah, yeah.
But she's watching something else.
Is there a Rabbi Kazen there, by the way? There's a Rabbi Kazen there. Moshe Lison gives you Avar Megris. And also, we are going to break for Ma'ariv now, so we'll see you in about 15 minutes-ish.
L'chaim, l'chaim.
Chaim, Chaim.
Oh. In Chassidus, we talk about Pesach Sheini. The Rebbe always brought this one mimer. The Rebbe said he searched where is Pesach Sheini discussed in Chassidus, and he says that he found one mimer of the Tzemach Tzedek, and the Rebbe would always bring this mimer. And the lashon is over there that Pesach Sheini is Diluk Sheini. So we know that Pesach Bichlal is the idea of Diluk. Pesach Havaya Aveda, Pesach is about a person leaping out of whichever situation, whichever confines he finds himself in, to reach for heights which are beyond himself. And that's the beginning of Aveda, to jump out. Arizgin from Mitzrayim. What's the idea of a Diluk Sheini? A second jump, a second leap. The Pashtus, you either have like you have in the beginning of Aveda. In the beginning, we begin with Pesach, and then you have Sfiras HaImer. Let's bring down, which we have with jumping into Avedas Hashem, whatever it is, like it says that Leila Seder is B'simcha Gdeila, because Simcha Peretz Geder. So once we've established that, let's move on. Now let's bring it down into Birur Amidas, preparing for Kabbalah Satera. Why do we have, in the middle of Sfiras HaImer, we stop, and we say now we're going to have a second leap? What's this Diluk Sheini? So the Rebbe once said that Diluk Sheini is deeper than the first Diluk. The first Diluk he did with the belief that it's going to be perfect, it's going to be successful. You know, it's like a young bacha coming into yeshiva and saying he knows exactly where this is going. He's going to come out a Muslim in Nigla and in Chassidus and in Aveda and Ben Adam L'Chaveira and Allah in Yonim. It's just going to be perfect. Then he crash lands, and the question is, what do we do now? The second jump is always going to have to a more grounded jump. It's going to have to come from a deeper place. And it's going to have to come from a place where even though I know it's not going to be perfect, it's not going to be the way I think it should be, still, I'm going to now go for it because I'm really committed. It has to come from an even deeper place in Nefesh. You know, so es kommt jetzt Lag Baimer. There's a famous kasha, which is asked in the Welt. Why do we celebrate Lag Baimer? So one of the reasons which are given for Lag Baimer is because Paskum Ilamos, Talmidei Rebbe Akiva, were dying in droves. 24,000 Talmidim died, and then they stopped dying. So the obvious question is, what's the celebration? You know why they stopped dying? Because it was over. That's it. They buried. So therefore, now it's a celebration. What's the simcha in Lag Baimer that they stopped dying? So the Zavort was mezakt in the Welt. It's not that they were celebrating that they stopped dying. It's that what happened on Lag Baimer, Rebbe Akiva got up and he said, despite the fact that 24,000 Talmidim were wiped out, I'm going to go now and rebuild. We're talking over here, Tkuf of Shas Hashmad with the Romans. We're never going to be able to come back to having 24,000 Talmidim. We're going to be talking about the Mesei Mispar. He collected 5 Talmidim. Now, if we go into the space in which Rabbi Akiva found himself, imagine being a Rebbe of 24,000 Talmidim. And it's not happening. It's over. So where do you take the strength to go and say, but I'm going to invest all of my keiches to teach 5 students. He was a Rebbe of 24,000 Talmidim. And to still have that art in nefesh, to be able to, he's so committed, that comes from a place of true belief in Torah, or true belief in Talmidim. And the value of it is that even if it's not the way things, and he's tasted what it means to disseminate Torah on that level. And he believes in the idea of teaching Torah on a level that he invested himself in 24,000 Talmidim. Im kol zeh, he's going to say, it's so true that even if it's not going to be perfect, I'm still going for it. It's a sign of true commitment. And that's what we're celebrating like B'Omer. We're celebrating the depths which was in the belief of Rabbi Akiva in his mission, and the belief of Rabbi Akiva in his Talmidim. It's all over. So what? It's still going to happen. It's like, just as a amchoshe, like in our generation, that the idea of just, if we go through the life of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and in Lnedvot he had hundreds of Talmidim, and then to come to America and to say Timchet Mimim is going to happen over here. Now, obviously, it's not going to be on the same level, not in Kamus, not in Eichos. We're talking a totally different language, a different culture. Where does it come from? It comes from such a belief that Timchet Mimim is a true thing. And Timchet Mimim has to happen. No, in Tanya, in Perek Yud Gimel, you have a wonderful piece. There's a lashon over there, which I believe in Tanya Bichlal, I don't think you have another lashon like this. You don't have another lashon like this in Tanya, where the Alter Rebbe speaks in first person. Derech Klal in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe talks from a distance. It's a shlishi amadaber. He's describing the Beinoni, he's describing the struggles, even if he uses very strong language, but it's descriptive. There are times where the Alter Rebbe, so to speak, embodies himself in the person who's learning, and he speaks for him, like in Perek Yud. Alter Rebbe says, "Eineni reitze liyes sheite kameyu, eineni reitze liyes nifred melekei Yisrael." I'm committed and connected to the Eibishter. So he's talking on behalf of the Leimed time. In Perek Yud Gimel, it's, I believe, the only place where the Alter Rebbe talks, so to speak, in first person. He's talking by himself. Talking and sharing himself. He says like this: the Yid is complaining that he's davening, but his davening is not for real. If it would be for real, so why is it that after davening he doesn't stay? He doesn't stay in the same place. How come it's transient? The whole thing is temporary. Kum toisas sheker. So over here you have the lashon of the Alter Rebbe. He says, "Hareini keira la'avosom shebetfilosom sfas emes." I call his davening true davening. I believe in his davening. This is the truth. Now, this is a surprising, l'chure, if anybody knows something about truth and the quality of truth and not compromising, it's the Alter Rebbe. And over here, the Alter Rebbe says, no. Not only do I say his davening is also true, but because I know what truth is, if his davening is not true, then we've compromised the idea of truth. Because everyone Adarabbe, because he's so committed to the idea of truth, to the idea of davening, therefore it must be that everybody could daven. If we'll just talk maybe in broader terms, in Kotsk, they also kochzach asachin emes, and in Chabad, the word, instead of saying emes, we would use the word pnimis. What's the difference between emes and pnimis? Emes usually means that we're coming to say that there is one perfect truth. And anything which is not in the model of truth, it's just not it. So emes in the Kotsk language is don't fool yourself. There's only one tzaddik. Maybe the Rebbe has the truth, and everybody else is sheker. You may see somebody who has the truth. If you'll go with a magnifying glass, you'll be able to find. They love the sheker. They search all over, and they always find sheker in every place. In Chabad, we love the emes. And we search all over, and we find the kernel of truth in every place. In other words, we're not looking for the truth, we're looking for your truth. That's what the Alter Rebbe is saying in Perek Yud Gimel. The truth, that's emes la'amitei. True. But over here, we're talking about emes la'amitei shalahem. We're talking about my truth. And that is the truth. We were magbel the truth. We've confined the truth to a very limited space. The emes of Torah and the emes of Holocaust is everywhere and it's within everyone. So therefore, it must be that every Yid could daven. How could you say that this Yid's davening is not true davening? So this Yid is coming into Yechidus and he's complaining, he doesn't demand the Alter Rebbe, I as Chassidus Chabad, I as the Rebbe, is telling you, no, Hareini Keira Lavosam Shabtfilosam Sfasems. I call your davening true davening. This is the truth. Why? Because the compromised state is the time when the test begins. Are we really committed? Of course, it's easy to talk about a perfect scenario. Everybody, there's no one in the world which if he's offered, they say, you'll be able to live a life of dveikus and alakus, and you'll be able to have the focus and presence of mind to be able to think chassidus and to daven barichis and then to be able to have a geschmack in learning and to be able to have the full menuchas hanefesh. Nobody would turn down such an offer. That's the dilug rishon of Pesach rishon when a yid jumps into it and he says, there's a leap of faith, but it's a tmimistic faith. It's going to be all clean. There's not going to be any yeshus. There's not going to be any chametz. It's going to be perfect. Everything is that leilas. Then there is when things become real. It doesn't work. And then there has to be chametz or matzah ime babois. He has chametz, and the chametz is here to stay. Now, could you still, in this matzav, eat matzah? Could you still learn and daven? And that's what, like in the Sikha of the Frierdiker Rebbe, this is what the Cheder Sheini was made for. The Cheder Sheini is made for the messy situation. In shul, there's no talking, it's mesuder, everybody's yashvus, medavent. Over here we're davening, it's a helike platz. The Cheder Sheini is a messy place. Why? Because in the Cheder Sheini, it's where things get working in life. There's a lot going on. There's a lot coming my way. I have carpool, and I have chayvis, and I have taivis tanugim, and so many andere Sachen. There's stuff, and there's machshavas, and there's machlekes, and there's stuff. The im kol zeh to say, in the Cheder Sheini, you could be a chassid. That's what the Cheder Sheini is for. In a messy place, where sometimes you have this kind of dvarim, but Rav from Kfar Chabad, Reb Shneur the Rav, he was called Reb Shneur Gerelik. He was in Yechidus. When he came into Yechidus, he was older than the Rebbe. It's just an interesting stammer, just as a Hagdama. He was older than the Rebbe, and he came in. He was the first Tamim in Lubavitch, actually. When he came for the Frierdiker Rebbe's Chassan as a Bacher, his father was a Chassid. And by the Sheva Brachas, it was announced that Simchat Tamimim is opening. So right there and then, his father approached the Rebbe and he said, he's signing up his son for this yeshiva. So he was literally the first Tamim. And he was a Rav for many years, for 70 years collectively, from all the places he was a Rav. And when he came into the Rebbe stood up. So he was standing and the Rebbe was standing. So the Rebbe told him to sit down. So he told the Rebbe he doesn't want to sit. So the Rebbe said, if you don't sit, I won't sit. So yeah, he told the Rebbe like this. Ayid meine Yorm, a person my age, has traveled me'ever layam. I didn't come to meet a Talmid Chacham. I didn't come to meet a goyin in Nister. I didn't even come to meet a Eved Hashem, a Great Tzaddik. I came to a Rebbe. The Yechidus continued. The Yechidus was there. It's still breaking up. The Yechidus for 2 hours and 40 minutes. The Rebbe, Pashut, most of the time the Rebbe was asking him questions. The Rebbe wanted to hear from him what's going on with Chassidim. There was this big group of Chassidim came out of Russia. They moved to Kfar Chabad. And this was the Rebbe's opportunity to firsthand. The Rebbe took interest. The Gashmis, Beruchnis, going through every single family. The story wasn't clear?
It paused right after you said that he came to see a Rebbe. And then, yeah.
He told the Rebbe, I came to see a Rebbe and not a goyin and a tzaddik. So at that point, the Rebbe sat down, accepted what he said, and the Rebbe began, Poshet, asking him questions for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Most of the Yechidus, the Rebbe wasn't talking. The Rebbe was taking an interest in Chassidim in Kfar Chabad. These 300 families which came out of Russia, Be'erech, and 100 of them, Be'erech, settled in Kfar Chabad. The Rebbe wanted to know exactly what's going on, Begashmius or Beruchnius, with every family. And the Rebbe was asking the Rav. So at some point, the Rav shared with the Rebbe that he has a frustration. He says there's two younger lights, without mentioning any names, who every Shabbos they sit in shul and they say L'chaim, and let's say the Farbrengen was not teuchendik. The Farbrengen was not the way he imagined the Achsidische Farbrengen should be. So he said he's not sure what to do. Like he should stop them, he should. So the Rebbe said no. It's better they should Farbrengen in shul than they should go home. If they're going to go home, it's going to be entirely pust. In other words, the Rebbe was saying that by Anash, there's a musag of a cheder shein. Lav dafka, things have to be perfect, but we're committed to having this quality of what a chassid is and a chassid farbrengt. Of course, there's a level. There's the chederishin. There's the way things should work in the shul. But then there's the way things work in the cheder shein. And this is what the Rebbe had gemont as Megain fire in Pesach Sheini. And Dafke nowadays, we know that the Rebbe insisted that we should Farbrengen Pesach Sheini. The Rebbe spoke about Pesach Sheini, be'en arech from the other Rabbeim. Why? Because for us, what's needed is not to explain to us the ideal. What we need is to know that even when things get real, we could remain committed. L'chaim. L'chaim Remendel. Avare mening. L'chaim.
ya 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 ma ya ya da. Hey ya da ya 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 ma ya ya da. Hey ya da ya 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 ma ya ya da. Hey ya da wa 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 ma ya ya da. Hey ya da ma ya. Hey ya da ya ya. Hey ya da ma ya da. Ay ya 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 yo na da da ya ya. Da ya ya ma ya da. Hey da ma ya 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 ya. Hey ya da ya 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 ma ya ya da. Hey da wa 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 ma ya ya da. Hey ya da wa 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 ma ya ya da. Hey ya 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 ma ya ya da. Hey da wa 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 ma ya ya da. Hey ya wa wa wa. Hey ya da ma ya wa wa wa. Hey ya wa ma ya wa wa wa. Hey ya la la la. Hey ya 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 ma ya ya da. Hey ya wa 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 ma ya ya da. Hey wa wa wa. Hey ya da. Hey ya da ma ya da. Awa ma ya da. Hey da ma wa 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 ya na. Ma ya da ya ya ma ya da. Awa ma ya da. Hey da ma wa 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 wa. Hey ya da ya ya ya. Hey ya da. Hey da ya ya ya. Hey ya da. Hey da wa wa wa. Hey ya da. Hey da ya 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 ma ya ya da. Klyne.
Chaim. There's a word that we say, by Chassidim, someone once asked, striving to be a chassid, that's a chassid. So a chassid is somebody who wants to be a chassid. So his friend told him, "Hey, Bazeh, that's not a hagdara. A hagdara, any way you want to categorize, whenever you want to categorize something, it has to be exclusive in some way. So who's not a chassid? Everybody really, bepnimis, wants to be a chassid. I mean, if he doesn't know about it, so makine say achiyem, but every yid really wants to be a chassid. Say Bazeh, so who's excluded over here?" So he said, no, there is one kind of person who's excluded. The person who thinks that he already is one. Everybody wants to be a chassid, besides for the person who thinks that he is. In other words, from the Yesodis of Chassidus is the recognition that Chassidus is a journey. Thirsty. And that's why sometimes, especially with younger Bachrim, you have it very often, they learn Tanya and it's meaningless. It doesn't speak to them. And even within ourselves, sometimes we have tkufas where Chassidus speaks to us more, Chassidus speaks to us less. It's not that the Maimah changed. It's that Chassidus, by definition, is an answer. This is the way the Alter Rebbe says, this sefer is Hatshuvas L'Kol HaShaylos. If you have a question, this is the response. This is the answer. As we always say in Tosfos, V'im Taimer is Yesh Leimer. So the Yesh Leimer is if there's a V'im Taimer, it's a tonight. Only if you ask the question do you get the answer. If not, then you won't understand there's no chalash. You can't start off a conversation with the answer. There's the Remendel. This is what I heard you used to say, that there was somebody who came into the Rebbe. He was a Mekurev to Chabad. I'm not sure exactly which level. And he told the Rebbe the Lashon, Ich bin a fartiger chassid. I'm already a perfect chassid. Why? Because I learn chitas. So the Rebbe said, a chassid is nicht kein fartiger and a fartiger is nicht kein chassid. By definition, if you're fartig, if you're done, then you're not a chassid. You say the Maise about Rabbi Avrem Kizhebener, Rabbi Farbrengen Zebner was a chassid of the Tzemach Tzedek, and Klyne, who was later the Mashpia in Lubavitch, was his Talmud. And Klyne followed him everywhere and was makabel from him, and he was very close. And the story goes that there was one Simchas Torah. Rabbi Farbrengen Zebner was the and bringing Erech Sidis and the Yiddishkeit and Warmkeit in their dining room. Moving, wherever Rabbi Farbrengen Zebner went, so his Talmud, Klyne, went with him. So after going from one home to another, so in every place that Rabbi Farbrengen Zebner is saying L'chaim, so after a while, things had a longer environment. Rabbi Farbrengen Zebner was in a state where it was more open. And Farbrengen Zebner at one point said that the Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, said about a certain chassid, is mein Yiras Shamayim. And about another chassid, he said, as is mein Lam. So at this point, and this is the way the story grows, that Klyne was also after L'chaim, because whenever Farbrengen Zebner said L'chaim, the Talmud does like the Rav, so he had so much L'chaim that he had the chutzpah to tell Farbrengen Zebner, was the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, Avremke is mein chassid. And he said, my whole life I'm trying to understand what is it about me that the Rebbe meant I'm his chassid. Until I understood like this, I want to be a chassid. I want to be a chassid. In other words, it's true. Chassidus is a madrege. Chassidus is that there's then he's compromised his whole approach to what Chassidus is. You can't approach Chassidus with a diluted version of Chassidus. We have to first of all know that there's a Pesach Rishon, there's a Dilig Rishon. But then, at some point, we have to come to a clarity, so what does it mean for me? And then, there's the Diluk Sheini and saying, and I want this. And I'm not going to settle until I'm going to constantly read. L'chaim Mendel.
Oh, there's my button. Good. L'chaim L'chaim. Tereya la rama. Oh, ya la ra ra, ya la ra ra. Tereya ma 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 ma. Ya la ra la ra. Tereya ma 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 ma. Ya la ra ma ya. Ah, ya ma 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 ma. Ya ma la ra la ra. Tereya ma 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 ma. Ya la ra ra. Tereya ya ma 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 ma. Tereya oh ya ma 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 ma. Tereya ya la ra ya de ma 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 ma. Tereya ya la ra ya de ma 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 ma. Tereya ya de ma ya la ra. Tereya ma 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 ya de la ra ya. Tereya ma 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 ya de ma ya la ra. Tereya ma 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 me de da. Tereya ya de tereya ya. Tereya ya de ma ya. Tereya ya de ma la ra. Tereya ya ma de ma la ra. Oh, ya ma me de ma ya la ra. Tereya ya de da. Tereya la ra ya ma ya. Tereya la ra yo. Hey la ra ma la ra. Ma Tereya ya de ma la ra. Tereya ya ma de ma. Oh ya ma de ma la ra. Tereya ma de da. Tereya oh ya ma. Tereya oh ya ma. Tereya la ra ta ra ra ma. Tereya la ra ma. Tereya ya ma de ma la ra. Tereya ya ma de ma ya. Ah ya ma de ma la ra. Tereya ya ma ta ra ra. Chaim.
Chaim. Rabbi Golem.
Yes. Who's speaking?
Hello.
You called me, Shamea.
Yes, you're connecting to us from England. You're connecting to us. It's 2 a.m. in Sheffield. Epis has to make it kedai.
Well, this is by mistake. I mean, I didn't intend to join this Farbrengen.
Oh, no, it's noch
It so
besser.
happens I fell asleep and I woke up with a jump because here in England we are almost at the point where there's no longer any night. Stock in Lila is Lila Kayem Yo is not pulp that amount, but it's the stock nacht. So if you nacht taste Alisa Shach is effectively 1 o'clock in the morning or whenever Chatzos is. So I don't get married in early. If I chas v'shalom leave it too late, I can miss it altogether. And Svida with everything ganz Shaila. So I just woke up. And then suddenly I see on the chat, because, you know, the first mitzvah you have when you wake up is you check your WhatsApps. I mean, it's got a din kedim even before Maidani. As I dacht me. So you check your WhatsApps and dort steht der Farbrengen. So I thought, you know what? Against my better judgment, I'll join. So I joined, and by mistake, I'm getting involved in this.
So good, so good.
So good. Okay. So it's funny that because you're Yossi Klyne. Am I talking to Yossi Klyne?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So your parents started out where I am a long time ago.
Right.
I was still in Brunois when your parents were here.
In Sheffield.
Aber Sheini Shubas ist sich getroffen in Manchester und nach ich kam schon bin ich da reingefallen. Also, Sheini, but that's the way it is. Me geht to wherever the Rebbe wants you to be, rather than when you think you ought to be. And I'm sure this is a Farbrengen verbunden mit Judalet Iyom, mit der Ihnen von Pesach Sheini. Was nicht doch ein Verfall. I'm going to say something negative. It's Manchester, with which I'm closely linked, and I teach in Manchester in your mother's school. Is it? Yeah, in the OYY, the girls. So, unfortunately, Manchester ist durchgegangen ein bisschen nicht gewaltige Fehler Sachen. Because a young man, his name was Shmuel, at the age of 19, decided that he gives money. Now, sometimes you hear and read about these things, and it's always at a distance. Then there comes the occasion when I knew the fellow. Not only that, he would come here, this man is very friendly with one of my sons. And on occasions when he came here, and this is a Rabbi, so I'm not going to talk anything personal, but wir haben sich verbracht. And I will tell you one thing that I got out of all of this, that sometimes you can live in a very wonderful, warm, busy, frum community, and you can be so lonely. And this person must have come to the conclusion that he no longer has a role to play, as is known, know that very often the people come to this conclusion, the world will probably be a better place without me. So I thought to myself today, so the Shuv is over, and I went to see the family, and it took me days to recover from it. And I'm thinking to myself today, because I was today in Manchester, and I met up with somebody else, and I'm talking family, and they said, did you know what's happened? Yeah, that's all not negere. Aber doch der Hira von Pesach Sheini ist doch ein Verfall. And how does that square with what happened? The Hira, it's finished, it's gone. LMI muss man sagen that there has to be some impact, must continue to have an impact. And if the impact is used properly, then who knows what the source can be. So that's what's on my mind. And since this is a Farbrengen, that's what I'm sharing with you. You never know what's going on in somebody else's life. And Sveikoi Lechumra. If there's a suffix with that person, you know, suffix deraisa is Lechumra. What's up, Shad? Could be it's also, could be it's mutter. So if it's a ini was mit auf zich ophieten, is mit Sveikoi Lechumra, heißt es as awesome. So I think you look at everybody, and the Klyne de Reis of a half the Reich of Kamechel for the Pasha. It's fake the Chumra. Is if you have a suffix, if it's besimcha or the Chas v'Shalom the hepech simcha, darf man dann sein le Chumra or machen jene besimcha, because you do not know what's going on inside other people's minds, other people's hearts, and how they're feeling. And wie steht Kiba ab am Horgu is mit Nos kommen einmal Chas v'Shalom, is darf the hepech von dem darf sein le Teuf is allemaal besser wie the hepech ha-Teuf. So mele, Ashmechel, Haim von Aves Yisrael, fragen was tut sich. Rabbi Yitzchak Dubov, doch gewinn an Rabbi Manchester kamen schon ihm, sagen ständig, Yisrael afapische Leuchoto Yisrael hu. Man trefft sich mit anderen Chassidim. Befragt mit der Deur hat Soir, who in this world of WhatsApps and messagings and likes and dislikes are echad mini elef kipshotei. So there's a feeling that I don't matter. I'm just one of 20,000. So 100,000, however many this particular knowledge card I just looked at with the thumbs up or the thumbs down. I don't have any of this on my phone. I only have WhatsApp, but I know what goes on. I'll go upon him, talk to people, smile at people. Sehr gut Wort, nicht okay verfall. You do not know what happened. The same evening, this bacher, this Shmuel went missing. He was missing for 9 hours till they found him. The police and the Shoimim and the Misaskim were busy looking here and there. And there's a group of these people who are a little bit lost to the community. One of the Shoimim happened to go in a place which is the bottom of Moor Lane. I don't know if you know Manchester, Yosef, but the bottom of Moor Lane, you get there, there's a road, and that's right next to a river.
Mm-hmm.
And they were looking for all the hot spots where these groups of young people hang out. And they saw there a guy. I know who he is. And he stopped his car. He said to him, I'm looking for Shmuel. Do you know where he is? He says, no, I don't know where he is. He said, well, what are you doing here in the middle of the night? Come around in the car, we'll go look for Shmuel. So he went looking. So he came in the car. It turned out a day later that he wasn't by that river by mistake. And Ashkocha Pratis und Eberste Vita Welt in alle Sachen. But it so happened because this person was looking for Yenem, he found this guy. And it seems like he said, I was also intending to, but you found me, so it didn't happen. Look, smile, be friendly, say a good word. You can walk in 770 and 1,000 Chassidim walk by you and not a person will say a word. I went to the Kinnis HaShluchim a few months ago. I davened on a street, on a certain little shul, which is near to where my son lives. And went there. That was on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And on the Sunday, somebody came up to me and said, Shalom Aleichem, are you for you? I said, you spoiled it. I was trying to make a record of how many times I could daven in the shul and nobody would say a word to me. So he says, oh, Baruch Hashem, I spoiled it. I said, yeah. So let's, they talk about you have no idea what sort of an impact you can have. Every person you just don't know who you are. Say hello, smile. Say, well, how are you and what's doing? Something, and try and you can also have some impact. And then if that means anything to anybody, then the Sham of Shmuel will have had some impact.
Amen.
And that's and in that way he lives on. There was a Yid in Manchester. Do you remember a guy called Akiva Adler?
Yeah.
Oliver Shalom. He's a great Gvir. He passed away, I don't know, about 15 years ago. When he passed away, he asked to be buried next to another Gvir called Yankel Shine, Jacob Shine. You ever heard of this guy?
Sure.
So Yankel Shine used to daven at As Yisrael, the Techik ben Agresa Gevir. His wife predeceased him. They didn't have children. They couldn't have children. I think he has adopted son, but it had nothing to do with him. And so I remember when I was in yeshiva by your father, so he used to come to yeshiva sometimes and he would talk. He would talk a lot of wonderful things, none of which were caught to some Zach Bechlal, but as I give and there was the mayor hot the day. So maybe he used to come and talk, and his wife passed away, and for the next 10 years till he himself passed away, he began liquidating all his assets. He was a property man, and would use the money for tzedakah. So people used to come to him, we're building a mikveh, we're building a shul, we're doing a school, if you can help us out. He said, sure, give me a few weeks to sell my property, and I'll give you a nice schum. I once visited his flat. He had a flat on Cavendish Road. It was a big flat, but it had like 2 rows of plaques and framed certificates, all thanking him for Yankel Shine, and Jacob Shine, thanking him for his donations. It was like a dado rail that went around this large flat, 2 rows of it. I've been at Grace about Stocker, but he had no family. And he finally passed away at some point and was buried in the Phillips Park in Whitefield. And when Akiva Ala died, he left in his Savoy. He wanted to be buried next to him. So people were surprised why. The 2 were friends, but there was nothing more than that. Why Dafki asked to be buried next to him? All was revealed when finally the Matseva went up. And at the bottom of the Matseva, he says in Hebrew words to the effect that if you have a moment, would you step to the right and say a tefillah by the person buried there? He made a cheshbon. Akiva Al Baruch Hashem had a big mishpach. I think he has 10 children, 9 children, 10 children. Plus he had a Rabbi grandchildren by the time he passed away. He knew he was going to get people visiting him. He also knew that Yankel Shai would have nobody, because once he's not giving out any checks, nobody's going to come see him. So he had himself buried next to Yankel Shine so that people would visit him, because once you're already there, his family is there already, so step to one side, he's not going to psa mizmeh, and that's it. So the Gemara says, "B'meisim chofshi, kiven shemeis nasa chofshi min mitzvahs." You can't do any more mitzvahs. Well, this guy beat the system. People come and visit him, and can't do. He carry on doing mitzvahs. You're having an impact. So I want this guy Shmuel to have an impact and give over to these. I don't know who you are out there, but it's always good to find from you. I know all of you. We all. I know what Sfarim you got on your shelves, whoever you are. I can probably name half your kids. If I ask you a list of 10 questions, I know exactly what you're going to answer. You know, do you believe in evolution, or do you believe in creation? Do you believe all these sort of things? So we know each other, right? We have a common mayon, which is our mayon and miskaber dosi the Rebbe. The Rebbe trained a whole generation of us. So I want him to have an impact, that if we could do something more, be Yosef in the wonderful avos which we already have, and the impact we already have on so many people, but also to unsere eigene chevre, and to smile and bring out the best and the joy and the freudigkeit and the simcha by Yenim, because you do not know what they could be struggling with. Rather, I teach Tanya. I was enjoying listening to you. She's talking about that Perek Gimel, so Geschmack Perek, and a lot of Sachos Sereden, the ganze Inyan von MS Lamito. It's a lot to talk about that. But in one of my lessons, the way he structured the lessons, it depends which class I've got, is I've got 10 minutes at the end of the lesson with your mother's permission. I usually leave that for what they call Damash Toshiv, which is an opportunity for these young ladies to ask whatever questions they want without judgment. And it's taught me that from Hamish Chassidish mishpachas still have children that have questions that they struggle with these questions. They don't know exactly what, and there needs to be an opportunity for people to ask them. So it tells me that we're not immune to a lot of the struggles and the demons that affect the rest of the world. So we can be makarev ourselves, makarev our ignacheva as well as all the wonderful work we do. And so that's my message. I want
L'chaim, Rabbi Yochanan, if you could say L'chaim, or we'll say L'chaim Shmuel, what's Ben was?
Shmuel ben Yitzchak.
Shmuel ben Yitzchak. The neshama from Shmuel ben Yitzchak zal haben na aliyah, and the schus of the chassidische Farbrengen.
Amen.
We should bring viduzaks. There should be v'achayit and aliba. L'chaim.
Yeah. God, there was a yechidus Rabbanim Aroshim in Yud Aleph Iyah, Tavshim Mem Tes. And amongst the Yonim, Reb Mordechai Eliyahu told the Rebbe that there is a tradition that Reb Meir Balanes is buried standing up. Because Meheri Bane Beis Hamikdash Mashiach had kommen, he does not want to waste the time struggling to his feet. It's a common Satin for Tchias HaMesim. So he's already buried standing up. Mashiach will come. Let's be standing up. Be standing up, because at any point Mashiach is going to turn. The Rebbe replied that it's a mashma from Yishami. They used to do this. The Rebbe responded that there was a mashmos in a mocking of Yishami that there is such a thing back then. So I don't remember what the mocker is, but upon him, this would be Mochana Mazuman, as Mashiach is be in a standing position that at any moment, who knows what could happen. And you're there. We're the guys that are going to lead. Midam sein warm zu dir. Midam sein, no, don't want to be cold to all these things. Warm zu sich, warm zu jenem, warm zu die jenem, koch sich. We have such a rich culture. It's unbelievable. Just do not know how much we sometimes what we only have to give to the rest of the world. I have a machut, mental rights, who lives in Postville, and he tells me that in the school they have a lot of Polish kids. And he said, and the school is run according to the Babish ideal. So it comes to your Teskis, David, about your Teskis, David, come to your Shvat, the way you Shvat. So one of the Polish Chassidim came to him and said, why do you always do about Lubavitch? Why don't you have a Vishnitzer? Kennst mir etwas Jahrzeit von einer von der... So he said, you tell me the stories and give me the dates, tell me what's happened, and I'll tell the kids, because I know you're Teskis, I know you're Shvat, I know... Because I'm a Lubavitch. I mean, the host Vishnitzer Meises mit. You tell me your heritage. He's still waiting for the guy to turn up. We have such a Reichkeit. We have so much to be delighted with. And Lebensach and Ibelebensach. And every time you pick up a Maimer Chassidus, you sit back and think, unbelievable. You bear Sich from the Rebbe, unbelievable. Rashi Sich. Whoever told Rashi's for 900 years, Rashi's been languishing in Chomoshim, and nobody's, I must feel really very frustrated. And nobody understood me. I'm not understood. There's not only Yisrael. And he said, in one of the shuvas early on in the Sefer, he apologizes why he hasn't replied to whoever answers the shaila. He says, I'm busy writing a pirush on Rashi, because the Rashi is so reich, and nobody's written anything on it. So I'm going to be the first one to write something on Rashi. And this is several hundred years after Rashi was written. That nobody else understood. What a gewaltig, what a wealth we only have. And we should be so happy about this. We shouldn't be cold to it, or we should be warm to it. I had a couple come here, family who are not Lubavitch, and we had a big episode. 15 students come to eat with us Friday night, and it was wonderful. But they are not, they ask questions. From the questions, you realize they don't know stuff. And this guy's looking, his eyes popping out of his head. He says, hey, after the meal, I said to him, he says to me, it's mamish a nebuch. I said, what's a nebuch? He says, these Jews, they don't know anything, don't know what means Shabbos, don't. I said, well, that's what we're here for. We're trying to teach them that. He said, but how comes they don't know? So he's going on and on and on. I said to him, have you ever done Tikkun Chatzos? He says, no, never. I said, why not? He says, why, yes. I said, well, it happens to be the first simon in Shulchan Aruch. Dus daar gaan ze in Janne van Malachas as a Yid Mechuyev to the Tikkun Chatzos. How comes you never did it? He says, I never saw it. I said, the same thing as with these students. Exactly the same. So you don't respond to that. You're cold to it because you don't know anything about it. So don't expect anything else from these people. They're the same. They're also, we are warm to it. Every year we go to the Chief Rabbi's Conference of Rabbis. There's like 100 rabbis get together in London. If you are a synagogal rabbi, you get invited to this conference, which I am. And there's quite a few of us there. And then in the evening, there's what they call the banquet. But in England, they call it the dinner. And so we have a dinner with a guest speaker, usually some member of parliament or some Schwarzion, I don't know, but somebody that they want to impress. And the same thing happens every year. The people come in, and there's no set places except for one table for the Hoche Fensters. And so the Lubavitchers gravitate to each other, and within 10, 15 minutes, they're busy Farbrengen. They're talking about this, the Meisters from the Rebbe, was and the rest of the Rabbonim look on, and they beißen the finger. They start with the beißen the fingers because they don't have that. We have a lot to be warm for. We have a lot. Zich aanwarmen. Aanwarmen jenem. Maken jenem vredig. Get them to smile. Get them to respond. Tell them you're great. You matter. You make a difference. You matter. My kids tease me because I'm always using this phrase. But I mean it. You matter. Everybody matters in some way. There's 8 billion people plus in this world. And no two people are the same. And there's nobody exactly like you. And if ze gaan, de Krugniker komt ze again en zegt, het ze gaan, du bist nicht so Chassidus wie jenem. Jenem ken mehr Chassidus. Jenem tut mehr mit Zoom. Jenem hat a größer Chabadhaus. Jenem hat mehr students. Anything as long as it puts you down. But the nice is, there's no one like you. You are unique. There never was anyone like you, and there never will be anyone like you. What do you mean? Have another kid? No, they won't be the same. There won't be your tzura, your skill set, your abilities, your koiches, your failings. All of that makes you. Take care if there be 2 Rabbi Golems in the world, 2 Yenis and Golems in the world, as one as well-spoken as I am, as knowledgeable as I am, as handsome as I am. Question me, what's haben beide? What I do, I'm going back to bed. Elamai, every person has done. So you got something that you got to do. And there's many chuvas of the Rebbe to people that you cannot measure the importance of your work simply on numbers. It could be that your person being in one particular place, and the Hatzatom, it's 2, 3 Yidden, is the eine von dem Eibischen ist das go gewaltig und das go choshuv. Und jener, was hat a ganze Tamalia Shalmata, hat es mit 200 Kinder, 300 students, 400 Barabar. It's good, but that's not. We can't measure these things. And I'm going on too long. I think I need to go to bed. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Thank you for the opportunity. I love you all, whoever you are. I don't care. Everybody matters. Smile, make a difference. Hey, bof die jenem, mach jenem freilich, because everyone matters.
Yeah.
Gute Nacht.
Gute Nacht. Guten Morgen, Rabbi Jensen. L'chaim. Der Mendel hab's auf alle Menigen. L'chaim.
Yossi,
There's a Maimer Lachay Nemer Tavshin Chai. The Rebbe says over there, "Mipnei Chateinu Galinu mi'artzeinu." What is the union of Golus? That's mi'artzeinu from our rotzen. Eretz is Eretz sherotzasa. The worst Golus is when a person is extinguished, like Rabbi Yosef was talking before. When a person loses his chayis, teva is kol chayretze b'kiyumei, and when a person loses his will to live. And the worst Golus is when Galinu mi'artzeinu from our rotzen. And the same thing is with our nefesh alekis. There is, everyone at some point in life, when we're younger, there's a rotzen, there's a drive, we're looking for something, we're looking to epis mer, epis tifer, we're looking for epis hashayches to elikus, hashayches zum Rebbe, and then there's a point where things settle, and we lose this, our rotzen, and that's what Pesach Sheini is, the diluk Sheini. But the Yosod is, like the Rebbe said at the beginning of this Farbrengen, which just came out, Tavshin Mem Gimel, that there's the Lomani Gora. In other words, there's what we have to do ourselves. It says, Dovas der Rabbeim können uns geben. So, but eventually, it's up to us. The pashtus. The Rebbe Shir Kov, if anyone remembers him, Rapinya's father, when he came to the Rebbe the first time, Tafshin Yud Gimel, he was sitting by the Rebbe, he was sitting by Farbrengen, and at some point the Rebbe turned around, I think it was Shavuos, around that time, the Rebbe turned around and he told him to say L'chaim. So he made with his hand like he doesn't have, he wasn't given any L'chaim. So the Rebbe said as Loshen, in Paris, it says he came then from Paris, which Paris in those years was considered the Chassidish Yishuv. That's where everyone came from Russia, came from Peking, and then was in France, and they dispersed from there. But then in those days, Paris was still the center of where Chassidim were. He said, in Paris, Vartman Eichet bis Megit, in Paris, they also wait till they're given mashke. In other words, the Rebbe was disappointed that he thought there's Al-Kopanim, there's some winkel, there's some place in the world where Chassidim know that it's not about whether you're being offered or you're being encouraged. Mimanovshach, if you want to Farbrengen, say L'chaim, figure it out yourself. And that's, but Pashtus, the Yesod of Aveda, of maturing, is the Lomanigara. And that's the only way a person's going to make his dilug. Like there were times, I think in Tafshin Lamed Ches, there was a time when the Rebbe spoke. The first dilug is of Pesach is Milmaila Lamata. The Rebbe take the Eibishter comes and takes a Yid out of Mitzrayim, Anivelei Malach, and Milmaila Lamata. Then there's Pesach Sheini, where things are working within where we are, and it's a bit dirty. There's Chametz Umatzah Ime Babois, but still, I'm doing it. That's why, as the Rabbi explained, it's in the middle of Sfiras HaImer. It's in the middle of the birur of Milmata Lamaila. It's what am I doing that tomorrow should be a bit different than today? There's the growth Milmata Lamaila. There's a Meredike Meise with Velvel Green. He was in Yechidus once, so the Rebbe Yudu was very mekarev him, and he was, whenever he was in Yechidus, he was working then in NASA. So the Rebbe asked him, "What's herzach in NASA?" Like he would say, what's the latest developments, what the latest challenges that they're dealing with. So he was actually ran a department which was developing the paint for the spaceships going up into space, because the speed that they move, so they could ignite, or memele could be dangerous. So that was his department. But Kumuvan, he's part of the Mareches of NASA, so he knows what's going on, what's the news, what's the latest discussions. So the Rebbe would always ask him what's going on. So at this time, he told the Rebbe that we're struggling with a basic problem. Basically, there is, in order to propel a shoots up in the air, so it releases a lot of gas, and the tank's empty. Is this clear? I see again it says it's unstable. It's clear? So the gas tank's empty, so it's shooting up in the air. Now, at this point, the space shuttle has to move against gravity even higher, and the more it's going against gravity, the bigger the struggle. And now it has to move against gravity with more gas, but it's schlepping the whole time these big empty gas tanks. Now these tanks are heavy, big pieces of metal, which for no reason we're schlepping them with us. So the problem is that we have to get potter from these gas tanks somehow in the mid-flight. So he said this is the struggle. This is what we're dealing with. That the same things that helped us up to get the spacecraft, the aircraft in the air, outer space, so we have to somehow deal with it, and some kind of creative. Now they have the solution for it. So the Rebbe asked him, "Nur Velvel, was is the hero in Aveda?" So he responded, "Kumuvan, he was been enough around the block to understand that this is." Let the Rebbe say what's the hero. So the Rebbe said that he thinks the hero is like this. There's a stage in life where you need kloyes ve'egoizim. You need candy, you need encouragement, you need incentives, and that's what propels you off the ground. That's the pastors, children, younger bachrim, they need to have that. The problem is that at some point, the same things which helped move us are pulling us back. We become dependent on schar, and therefore we can't lift ourselves up. So we have to figure out how mid-flight to shed ourselves from these things which are holding us back. If it's a gratification, if it's attention, if it's appreciation from others, how do we shed ourselves from the sviva, being dependent on the sviva, and becoming independent, becoming Yidden which have our own ratzon, to be megala on ourselves, our artzein. And if we don't do that, then we are being pulled down, we're being bogged down by things which taka were necessary in order to lift us. But at this point, it doesn't make sense anymore. You know, there's a stage, like the Rebbe told the Nigla and say the Chassidus, but what should he do now? Ben Azdorim, like what should be his Zohar Tfei? So the Rebbe told him, "Du schreibst doch, as du bist a Ben Esrim. You write that you're 20 years old, and you're asking me what's your Zohar Tfei." It comes to a stage, if you're 20 years old, then you should figure things out yourself. Because of course there's a stage when you're being told what to do. But at some point, you're being held back by these limitations of, and in his case, it was L'cheira Bittul and Kabbalah Seil and Folgen. He's coming and he's saying, I don't have any daya, and wherever I'm being told to do, that's what I'll do. That's exactly the problem. It comes to a point, like the Rebbe told the Rabbi, when he was also 20, 21, the Rebbe told him, it comes to a point where you yourself have to make decisions. So he told the Rebbe, whatever the Rebbe tells me to do, I'll learn. So the Rebbe said, there has to be Aveda B'Kech Atzmei. So this is the Yisod of Pesach Sheini, where it's in the Sfira, Milmata L'mayla, where we make our own decisions, we make our own kesher. The Rebbe is taking us, so it's on a different level, and it looks much nicer. But true Aveda has to come from a Pesach Sheini. In other words, there's our own Ratzui, our own Ratzon, that we should say Lama Nigar. And this is what the Rebbe said by this Farbrengen in Tov Shemem Gimel. We know that Milmayla Lamata, the Eibishter makes decisions, and Ilu Tzivanu Lachta Veitzim, Yinu Chet Veitzim. And there are times when he says, this person is not supposed to bring a carbon Pesach. So Mamela, fine, that's what the Eibishter wants. But the Pesach Sheini is when the Eibishter is pushing us into a corner and expecting us, you should scream. Say what you want. We need to have our own demands. When it comes to Gashmis, we know very well how to say it's my life, and don't take things away from me, which I deserve. So the same thing says the Rebbe, Tak al Pitere is Azeh, but it's not the Neshama. And the Neshama of a Yid is supposed to come out and say, I want and I need to live a ruchnistic life, first of all, to live a life of a chassid. The inyanim which we learn in Chassidus of Oisfer in the Kavana El Yena, Talmud Atzveiten, these are not things which remain in the Sfarim like this. This is the picture of Chassidus and of Chassidim. There was doch a time in my own life, and all of us, we learned it in Chetmimim, we learned as celebration of Yud Kislev. Rebbe said Yud Kislev, it's a surprising thing that Yud Kislev, we know, it's a big celebration. Comes to Yud Kislev, it's always on a low flame. Why? So there are technical reasons. But the Rebbe wants to explain because Yud Kislev is coming from a place where Chassidus was arrested again. You know, when we were arrested, Chassidus was attacked, there's a kitruk. And we've been released from bondage. And it's working. And now, Yotza Zakeh from the Mishpat. So let's go and celebrate, now we're free. What's the gefil b'Chassidim when again there's a kitruk? And again we fall into the same rut. So we understand now that it's not, this is the system, and this is the Seder, and talking every day there's going to be those minis veikuvim, there's going to be those kitrugim. So the second diluk, or the second geula, the geula of Yud Kislev, is a far deeper. It's a more mature, more honest, facing things for real, and understanding that there isn't a one switch you flick and you say Yudis Kislev, that's it. Pada b'shalom nafshi. We're going. No, there's going to be again a pada b'shalom nafshi, and again it's going to fall. Then there's going to need to be a Yud Beis Tammuz, and then there's going to have to be again, and there's going to be a Hey Tevis, and there's going to be in every stage and every situation covering and overcoming, and that's the celebration of a Diluk Sheini. That knowing that it's going to have to be in a Cheder Sheini, which is going to be messy and it's not going to be perfect. And we're going to a Cheder Sheini, which is not the perfect shul. It's a messy shul. It's the part where things are not. It's chametz u'matzah me'babois, but still to insist that there's going to be matzah, not to give in. Because this is the chachma of the nefesh al Bahamis. You know the nefesh al Mizok, there was once a yid, so he told him machlekes. So he it's a pasnish. It doesn't make sense. Hadnishkin time as Chassidim should fight like this. So I have a solution. Soll sein wie ich sage, and that's it. Let it just be like let's just give in. It should be one opinion. It should be the way I was saying all the way, and that's it. And the fight will be over. So the Nefesh Bahamis does the same thing. He says there's a struggle. You're saying matzah. I'm saying chametz. He comes and says, let's keep it pnimistic. Let's keep it consistent. It should just be the way I do it. And Pesach Sheini is saying no. I understand that there's going to be an Nefesh Bahamis. The im kol zeh not nispol, and it's a fight. Sometimes I'll win, but I'm going to be here even when there's going to be chametz. I'm still going to be matzah. But Klyne Chassidus, even when things are not perfect, and even when we slip, and even when we fall, but Klyne Chassidus, and we'll Farbrengen, and we're going to be Chassidim even when it's messy. L'chaim.
Hey ya moyena, ya moyena, ya moyena, te ya no Mandy.
There's a there's an interview in Gem a couple of years ago. And he describes the Yechidus when he was a young man. This is going back, I believe, in the early Lamets. And he was by the Rebbe. And the Rebbe was asking him about different developments in Refuah, and he was telling the Rebbe the things they were struggling with. One of the things that the Rebbe told him then was that the Rebbe was very worried about technology in medicine. So he was telling the Rebbe the patient. The Rebbe said he's worried that what's going to happen is that it's all going to be run by computers, and instead of a patient meeting a doctor, like as we know that the Rebbe's view in Refuah is that there has to be Atzas Yedid. The fact that there's a Yedid over here makes the Eitzah, compounds the quality of the Eitzah. It's not just a technical thing to find out the information. There's a communication, and there's even a level of encouragement, which is coming from the doctor to the patient. So this is, he was saying in this, he was describing over here, like how he walked out of the Yechidus totally confused. But now he's thinking back, astounded, how the Rebbe foresaw the future. This is the trouble. And as we know now, this interview was 10 years ago. Now with AI and everything, it's just showing how foresighted the Rebbe was, and what the struggle in refuah is going to be, together with the milas of technology. The drawbacks are obvious, that the personal communication is missing. Akopanim, in this Yichidus, the Rebbe argued for a different approach bichlal to medicine. The Rebbe said he thinks that he didn't use these words, but this doctor was saying nowadays we talk about this. The Rebbe was ahead of his time. It's called patient empowerment. In other words, we're used to thinking that what cures the patient is the medicine, and it's the provider of the medicine, it's the doctor. He said the truth is the most powerful component which there is in the refuah is that the patient himself is merape himself. It's empowering the patient. When the person is in the right state of mind, it empowers the guf to heal itself. And that's the pashtus. Whenever a person gets healed, all medicine is doing is invigorating the guf to heal itself. You know, when a person's cut, he has a cut, so anything that you're going to add, if it's a cream or if it's an antibiotic, whatever it is, it's just to empower the guf to heal the guf. So, al derech zeh in nefesh. So the true refuah is not providing refuah or giving, it's empowering, it's bringing out the potential which the person has in himself to cure himself. This is, and the Rebbe spoke about this barichas with him, and he described ba'afloah, you know, how now we understand this. So putting the person in the right state of mind is not just helpful to refuah, it's the ikar of refuah. Because it helps a person empowers him to be able to cure himself from his troubles. It's sign refuah, a guf and sign refuah. Give. The Rebbe is not looking to give, to take, to overwhelm, to overpower us. Adrab. What the Rebbe is looking to do is to ignite, to empower us that we should choose ourselves. So what the Rebbe is describing over here in Pesach Sheini, the Aveda is that there is a time and it's necessary. And perhaps there is such a thing, mefart zum Rebbe, or mepravet zum chastere beim Rebbe, and the Rebbe hebtuf, and we're mefart auf mein Rebbe's wagen. And there is a Pesach Rishon. There is such a thing following Moshe Rabbeinu of Mitzrayim, Darub ne Yisro v'Yiso, or Megate. I've thought of this idea. But it was up to the Yidden, and if these Yidden themselves wouldn't have thought of it themselves, so it wouldn't have happened, because then it wouldn't have been Pesach Sheini. The idea of Pesach Sheini is that a person himself demands, Lama nigara I deserve. I also want to mitzidi grow. And that's the only way a person could really heal himself. He has to heal himself. You know, there's the Lashon Reb Shlomo Chaim always used to say, kahadatar nagulta, it says in Zayar, kahadatar nagulta, it says like a person like a chicken, which says that you could take a filthy chicken and you could try clean him, and the grime and filth which is between the feathers, you know, you want to take a chicken and make him white for kaparas, it's very difficult, because you're getting stuck between, going between the feathers of the chicken to clean him. The only true way, and the easiest way, which it could be immediately cleaned, it's not just faster, it's also you get more of a quality cleaning if the chicken himself shakes himself. If the chicken flaps his wings, so in a second, all of the dirt flies away. So kahadatar nugulta, like the chicken who has to take himself in his own hands, on his allein geben na tresel. So Pesach Sheini is about the Lama Nigara, an expression of, this is, I stand for something, and even if it's not going to be perfect, dafke then, that's when we start seeing, if I'm up to it, if I'm fully committed. Again, the Rebbe spoke a few times in the later years. It says, Rebbe Yemer, Eze derech yishara sheyaver le'adam. So the Rebbe touched, Ezi derech yishara. What is the derech yishara? What's the gleichest weg in Aveda sheyovelei ha'adam that the person himself should choose? Every other way is a krumah way. The gleiche way, the derech yishara, is that the decision is mine. It's coming from me. If it's coming from me, then it has a kiyum. Kumuven, you need the Hagdama of Rabbi Yemer, like the Rebbe and the Rebbe Taisha is, Midaf Hamna Rebbe. If there is no Rebbe, patient empowerment only works with the doctor. If you put a person in a room himself, if you put a chassid on an island and he doesn't have a shaykhis with the Rebbe, then there's nothing doing. You need to have a Pesach Rishon. You need to have a doctor and you need to have a Rebbe Yemer. But what is the Rebbe Yemer? As Ezi Derech Yishara Sheyav Alei Adam. So the relationship over here works. And I'm not realizing answer on the Rebbe. A Chassid Chabad is that there's a Rebbe, but what's the Rebbe doing? Empowering and demanding from us that we should say Lama Nigara. And that's the only way it's going to come by from Pnimi, the pastures. But it's already getting late. Sheini is as Nishtakim Verfallener. Nishtakim Verfallener is not just a word of encouragement, it's demanding. It's saying, Umemela, there's no teretz. Memela, there's no way out. You know, sometimes we say, okay, Ava Pishachata Yisraelu is like a Varim Avart. That's not what it is. Ava Pishachata Yisraelu is saying, whether you like it or not, you don't have a teretz. It could be that for the past so many years, At gezindigt, so what? The expectations haven't changed. So Memela, we're being told, Nishdakim Verfallener, we could learn Chassidus. Chassidus is given for us, the Aved of Chassidus and the Aved Pnimis. And all we have to do is take advantage of what we've been given to us. We've been given. All we have to do is take advantage of it and on Aruf tanzen auf dem Wagen allein. L'chaim, l'chaim.
No, it's not about that.
L'chaim, l'chaim. Hey, you look beautiful. Matthew, you look beautiful, don't worry. Yeah. Wow, wow. Wow, wow. Hey, yeah, you know, ma, yeah, you know, hey, yeah, wow, wow. Hey, yeah, did it, oh, wow, wow. I did it, oh, wow, wow. Hey, I did it, oh, wow. Did it, oh, wow, yeah, did it, oh, hey, yeah. Hey, I did it, oh, wow, wow. I did it, oh, wow, wow. Hey, I did it, oh, wow. Did it, oh, wow, yeah, did it, la, 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 yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, 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 hey, yeah, yeah, did it, oh, wow, yeah, did it, oh, wow, wow. Hey, yeah, 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 did it, oh, wow. Hey, yeah, did it, oh, wow. Did it, oh, wow, wow. Yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, did it, oh, wow. Did it, oh, wow, yeah. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, hey,
Very good. There's just one final word before we go. There's a that this is what the Rebbe is expecting. It's not stam that this Farbrengen was made available for us. But this Farbrengen, towards the end, there is a very special word, which I don't believe, I think that it's not found anywhere, as far as I know, in the Rebbe's Torah, about Al Yivish Mipnei Maligim. And it looks like it's like a sichab for itself. In other words, the Rebbe starts off, there's the first two sichas where the Rebbe explains the inyan of Pesach Sheini, Bariches, V'chulu. There's at the end, the Rebbe chazes the maim of the Tzemach Tzedek. But then in the mid, and then there's another sicha about Bichlal like Baimer parades. And then there's like a short sicha just after in Aved. We were learning in Kelil Dach, we were learning this sugya of Yivush Mipnei Maligim and the standing strong in Golus, the Aved of Netzach V'Heid, the power of the presence of the strength of a Yid in Golus, the Akshonis, Azeh Nitandish. And part of it is not being the spot from the Sviv. So the Rebbe, it looks like this was like added on, this Sikha. So the Rebbe is a whole arichas about getting involved in Lag parades and making sure that there's as many children as possible participate. And then the Rebbe finishes off with a new word, Al Yivish Mipnei Maligim. So the Rebbe asks a klotz kasha. What's Al Yivish Mipnei Maligim? What's the other option? First, as the Rebbe always says, the first part of the first sifa, the first siman of the first chelik of Shulchan Aruch, Al Yivish Mipnei Maligim. It says a din. You have to be mekayim it. What's the other option is that because somebody made letzanu, so therefore I shouldn't do it. You should be nispar from a cynic. It's a whole hero in Torah. Al Yivish Mipnei Maligim. If it says in Shulchan Aruch that this is what you're supposed to be doing, so of course that's what I'll do. So the Rebbe teach a tifa teach. Sometimes when people laugh and people are cynical, so of course I'm not nispol, but you feel bad for them. You cringe. When a person makes a fool of himself, then you feel bad for him. In other words, looking for eitzes, how to deal with it, how to help people. Says the Rebbe, no. Al yivish m'pnei maligim. If you have to go and make a Lag B'Omer parade, so of course you're going to do it and you're not going to care what other people think. But you may think, so therefore let me have rachmanos on those people, let me get involved and you know, let's work it through with them. Says no. The first thing is you do what you got to do. You don't even care for the fact that there are cynics. You don't even feel bad for the Sviv. Says Kopin Vant. I don't care. That's the Al Yivish Mipnei Maligim. So the taich in the Lashon is Mipnei Maligim, for the Maligim. Maybe you would have Busha. And we're saying no. Al Yivish for the Maligim. Don't feel embarrassed for them either, even though they're making a fool of themselves. So this is the strength, which it clearly comes if we Sheini is this place where even Balabatim, that's what the Lashon of the Frierdiker Rebbe is, the Rabbonim, the Belandim, they daven in the main shul. Who sits in the Cheder Sheini? It was made for the Balabatim, that even if they're not shaykhs to davening on that level, but they can. How do I get this strength to be able to go there and to, despite not being perfect, nishtokin verfallen there? It's because of the Nefesh HaShenis. It's because I'm a Yid, and I know I have clear who I am. So I won't be perfect. What should I do? The clarity in the Nefesh HaShenis helps us remain dedicated to the work, remain entirely Iber gegeben, and only that could help us even in a place of Acheder Sheini Dikematziv. This is the same place which says, Al Yivish M'pnei Maligim. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. I'm not even going to get involved in the complications of the bushes of the Narishkeit of Elam Haz. So this is, if we take out this Yisod from Pesach Sheini, where we come with a strength. I say the Lama Nigara, I'm not being told anything. Umemele, Eibazei, whatever is going to be, Epes Muzayin. There's no such thing. Chsidim Zayinim. It's true we're not Chsidim or Rishayim and in his kashus, like the Rebbe said. It could be it's your fault. The Rebbe said in Tovshin Yud, it's your fault that Chsidim in our place. Be'em is la'amite shalahem. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Nur a Mendel episode. One last thing.
I don't know. Is this like the end of the Farbrengen or the beginning?
The beginning. This is what
Yehi rotzein milfonecha Hashem Elokeinu V'Elikei Yehi Chava Aveseinu Sheibone Beis Hamikdash B'meida B'yameinu V'Sechakeinu V'Zeidasecha 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 Sheibone Beis Hamikdash B'meida B'yameinu Elokeinu Zeirosecha. Shei Bonei Beis Hamikdash Meina B'Yameinu Elokeinu Zeirosecha. Bonei Beis Hamikdash Meina B'Yameinu Elokeinu Zeirosecha. Bonei Beis Hamikdash Meina B'Yameinu Elokeinu Zeirosecha. Shei Bonei Beis Hamikdash Meina B'Yameinu Elokeinu Zeirosecha. Shei Bonei Beis Hamikdash Meina B'Yameinu Elokeinu Zeirosecha.
Okay, we zullen zich treffen op goede gelegenheiten. The ikar is not talking verfallen. We should take out the keches, the heroes from Pesach Sheini, and the main thing is, or at least if there's one thing we could take out, if there are those which haven't had the opportunity to watch this new Farbrengen which just came out, so at least something, a part of it, I believe it's what I just hazarded before was the fourth sicha. It's a short sicha, geschmacke sicha, something which should come out if the Rebbe arranged Hakel also Yafa Beite. That we should get this Farbrengen now. It's certainly for us now, and we should take advantage of it. Let's take at least. Okay. Right, gesund und dicker ist a freiliche Lag bei mir.
Gracie Yasher Koach as always. Thank you.
Take care, Yosef.
Zaykol, magazine.